everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on this Tuesday, October 22nd. It is a beautiful day, really, and I want to apologize to you guys real quick because the show has not been as consistent as I would have liked over the last couple of weeks, but you guys will understand soon enough as to why the chaos has ensued within my home and my schedule, but it is for good reason. But nonetheless, I try to make no excuses for myself. We are back. We are here to talk about Week 7 in the NFL. We are here to talk about the schedule for the XFL. Here to talk about the latest breaking news, question of the day, today's topic, top story, I should say. So we're back to business as usual. And this, of course, is the one place where everyone's a fan of something, and we have got something for every fan, especially if you are a fan of new and adventurous things like what the XFL hopes to be. New, adventurous, break new ground. They released the schedule today. They have all the different TV networks that will be broadcasting those various contests. ABC, Fox, ESPN, some of the notable TV networks that will be broadcasting these games. And I, for one, love it. I really do love what the XFL has been doing. I think that you have to look at the first XFL, you have to look at the AAF, and then you have to look at this XFL now. And it seems like where the XFL went wrong the first time, obviously they're scrapping that and they're just like, what we're about now is in no way, shape, or form what that was about then. And then you look at the AAF, they did a lot of things right, but it felt almost rushed. And the XFL version 2.0, I guess you would call it, has really taken its time, and I appreciate that about them because they kept saying, team names and colors and logos were all going to be announced, this date, and then they kept pushing it back, and we all know about announcements being pushed back and how annoying that can be, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the announcements that have been made, and that's, of course, the XFL schedule. So before we get too far into today's topics of conversation, let's go ahead and dive into today's headlines. And headlines, of course, are brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises, where you can basically customize your world. You can get anything that you want from Dynamite. They can do hats. They can do jerseys. It's Victory Tuesday for me. I don't get to see you guys Monday. So that whole Victory Monday thing, I really miss out. So I want to make sure that I'm dressed appropriately every Tuesday after Victory, which has been 6 straight now, in case you missed it, which that's also in headlines. But anyway, I digress. Dynamite Enterprises can do t-shirts, they can do hats, they can do jerseys, they can do mouse pads for those of you that still use them. I feel like that's kind of an outdated thing now, but they can do it. They can also do business cards, they can do flasks, they can do awards, trophies, they even have their own belts that they do, and they can really take your image, your artwork, your logo, and slap it on just about anything. So go visit their website, dynamiteenterprises.com, see if there's something on there that catches your eye that you're like, I could use that for promotional marketing or other. And then if there's an idea you had and you don't see it on the website, then reach out to Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com, and be like, hey, had this idea for a promotional marketing or other thing that I would like to do for my business and or charity. And they'd be like, you know what, let's do it. I have a backdrop, I have a tablecloth, table runner, mic flags that are made by them, and those were some of the first that they had ever attempted to do, and I could not have been more happy with how they turned out. And that's the beautiful thing about Dynamite Enterprises and what Ethan does, is that if they haven't done it before, they're going to give it a try, and they will make sure that along the way, while attempting it for the first time, that you are 100% a satisfied customer. So Dynamite Enterprises is where it's at. I see we got quite a few people jumping on the Facebook Live today. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. We've been having some technical issues in the studio lately, but hopefully we're all good now. I see we've got Devin, Barry, Adam, Stephanie, Matt, Keith, HC, Luke, and a few others on here. Hey guys, good to see you. Good to see ya. Keith says, good afternoon. I say good afternoon to you, Keith. Luke says, what's up, and how about those Niners? Congrats, bro. Hey, man, look, I picked your Eagles to win against Dallas, and that's a win that I really need your Eagles to get for me, which brings us to, of course, our Tuesday rundown of all the NFL scores and what it means from 1 week going into the next. 49ers are 6-0. Oh, yeah. I love it. Undefeated for the first time. Well, 6-0 for the first time since 1990, and only the third time they've been 6-0 in franchise history. I love it. I love this defense. I'm a pro defense guy. Most of you know that. I do love my defense. So the games from Week 7 were the Chiefs over the Broncos without Patrick Mahomes for a majority of that game. I repeat. I say again, the Chiefs got a win on the road against the divisional rival without Patrick Mahomes at quarterback for a majority of the game. Now, Matt Moore was serviceable, and a lot of people, I made the joke. I said, you guys don't need to worry about if Pat Mahomes is sidelined. Matt Moore did just fine. And I swear, though, this MVP talk with Mahomes, it's like if you can win a game on the road at Mile High, granted the Broncos have not been the best this season, but if you can do that with a backup quarterback, is he really the MVP? Which we will get to the MVP talk later. So 30-6, the Chiefs advance to 5-2, and they snap a 2-game losing skid. Cardinals 27 over the Giants 21. This was a close game. A lot of mistakes, though, by the Giants all around. I caught the end of this. It was the game on after my game, the 49ers game. And there was just poor clock management, poor play calling, and just game plan when you're down by a touchdown. A touchdown would have won this thing. Well, a touchdown would have tied it, a PAT, successful one, would have won the game for them, and they just couldn't do it. They were a mess. This is not Danny Dimes that we've talked about for the first couple of weeks of the season. Well, not the first couple of weeks, when he took over for Eli Manning, but you get what I'm saying. So, Cardinals are now 3-3-1. They were not very good at the beginning of the season, but now 7 weeks in, they're at 500. I don't like the tie, but that's not my decision. Texans fall to the Colts 30-23. This division is really going to be something. I feel like the South always is, but we usually make the joke that it's the division that, well, somebody's got to win it, But the Jaguars were really good 1 year for it. The Texans were really good. The Colts were really good before that. So I feel like it's one of those scenarios where you're going to have one representative of the AFC South in the postseason, and that could be anybody right now. Texans 4-3, Colts 4-2. Now, and the Raiders, they fall to the Packers. Packers are 6-1. How crazy is that? 42-24 was your final. Not much needed to talk about there. Vikings over the Lions in a shootout, 42-30. So the Vikings and the Packers, Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. I say again, Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers both put up 42 points. I'm sure the defense had a lot to do with it, but man, 42 points. Lions fall to 2-3. Vikings are 5-2. So the NFC North, a division that could have multiple teams represent it in the postseason. Still has to be one divisional winner, of course, but a wild card could emerge from the North because the West ain't getting any easier. The Jaguars over the Bengals. Jaguars are 3-4. Minshew Magic was back. 27-17 is your final. The Dolphins and the Bills. The Bills are 5-1. The Bills are 5-1. Dolphins are 0-6. 31-21 is your final. The Bills could end up being a wild card team. Right now, they're chasing the Patriots. That's really all they're doing. They're not worried about anybody else in that whole conference. They're just chasing the Patriots. and that's something. Rams 37. They really lay it on the Falcons. So the Rams get back in the win column. They're now 4-3, and the NFC West is that other division that you're looking at that's possibly going to have multiple representatives in the postseason. Still one divisional winner, but who would the wild card be out of there? Would there be 2 or 3? And then the Chargers fall to the Titans 23-20. I don't think that the Titans are going to be much competition for the Jags, the Colts, and the Texans. I think it's too little too late. Obviously, the benching of Marcus Mariota in favor of Ryan Tannehill worked for this game, but is that really your long-term plan right now? I don't see it. I think Ryan Tannehill was there just to back up and maybe be some kind of motivation for Mariota, if anything else. So the Ravens upset the Seahawks, and I say upset because this was another game in Seattle, in the rain, 30-16, and the fumble by Metcalf, man. I have seen some fumbles, and that one is right up there. Nobody touched him, and he fumbled. So the Ravens, 5-2, Seahawks fall to 5-2. Saints 36 over the Bears 25. Saints are 6-1. Teddy Bridgewater undefeated as a starter for the New Orleans Saints. That's crazy. The Bears are 3-3 now. I don't know. The Bears, their defense is good, but their offense is not. I don't know if they're going to make it to the postseason as a wild card or not, especially when you have such a stacked NFC. Am I right? The NFC is just such a stacked conference right now. And then, of course, you had the Cowboys getting back in the win column after being embarrassed by the Jets on the road. And they were at home against the Eagles 37-10. Patriots 33-0 over the Jets. And that caused me to lose my fantasy matchup. I had it won. Even with that safety, I was still ahead by less than a point. And Darnold had to go and throw that 4th interception. Oh, kids these days, I tell you. And the 49ers won 9-0 in the Mud Bowl 2019. Let's see here. Luke says, bro, let's not talk about that game. Barry is in there. He says easy. I'm not sure what he was referred to. You guys have to forgive me. There's a 6-second delay. I've counted. 6-second delay between what I'm doing right now and what you guys end up seeing on the screen, which is nice. If I had like a bleep, if I swore and I needed to bleep something, I might be able to do that. But yeah, there's a delay. Adam says the New York Football Giants, the walking derp. Yeah, pretty much. Luke says, I hate that the NFL still allows a tie. It's a stupid, pointless scoring system. It really is. I will agree with you wholeheartedly on that, Luke. I don't believe that they are... That they should be allowed. Barry says that Mahomes being MVP is easy. Dude, you're a Chiefs fan for one, so I'll have a pass on that. But you guys won with Matt Moore at quarterback. If he was really the most valuable player, you guys would have like tanked that game. And I know that your defense did a lot, but when you have a quarterback come in for the guy that you claim is the MVP and you still get the win, and it was a convincing one at that, I'm not buying what you're selling there. Speaking of which, it is time for our question of the day, which is, I think, the one that's on everybody's mind right now, and it's one that I've been thinking about since this weekend. So here we go. It is your pick for the 2019 NFL MVP. Now, I was thinking to myself the other day, looking at this season, 7 weeks in, going into 8 now, who my MVP picks are. And I think everybody has a top 3, right? And years past, it's always like, what? Quarterback, running back. I think that if you have a top 3 and a quarterback is more than one of your choices, we're not watching the same football out there. I really don't see how you can pick more than one quarterback given the way that things have played out. And here's my argument. Russell Wilson, obviously, having an MVP caliber season, and so is Lamar Jackson. People are saying Mahomes and Rodgers. I don't buy it right now because a lot has to do for Green Bay. The defense has really stepped up. And then, of course, their new head coach finding a way to win with, being a first-time head coach like that. Mahomes, though, like I just said, their backup came in and was still able to win the game against Denver convincingly. And I know Denver might suck right now, but it's still a divisional game on the road. That should not be able to be that easy if your quarterback truly is the most valuable player, not just of your team, but of the whole damn league. So I say Wilson, McCaffrey, and I don't know, pick a defensive guy. You've got two teams that are 6-0 that are boasting the number 1 and number 2 defenses right now in New England and San Francisco. Now, granted, New England's schedule has been just cake easy with the exception of the Bills, and the Bills have had one of the best defenses out there. But I don't know. I mean, are we talking about Nick Bosa? Is he at least in the defensive rookie of the year conversation? But you got to look at these teams is like who the difference maker really is. And for San Francisco, their defense is the difference maker, hands down. For New England, their defense has been just lights out. You saw what they could do to a terrible team in the Jets last night, and then they got the win against what I consider a very good team in the Bills a few weeks back. So give me a quarterback, give me a running back, and give me a guy on defense. The defense does not get enough love in this league. I think it's kind of, laughable that every year we can somehow agree a most valuable player in one of the biggest team sports out there. I mean, basketball, yeah, there can be one guy that makes a huge difference. It's a 5-on-5 game. Soccer, same thing. Hockey, very similar. But football, it's 11-on-11, and you have 5 guys protecting the quarterback at the snap. And then on defense, you have your pass rushers, your linebackers, your safeties, and your defensive backs. It's just you're trying to have 53 men on a roster on 32 different teams, and yet you're going to pick one guy that stands out above all the rest. And so really, I like if we're going to do that, which we are, obviously, it's the NFL, and they love to celebrate their superstar. It's got to be Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the definition of an MVP right now because Cam Newton went down with an injury. And yeah, Kyle Allen has been a very good quarterback given the circumstances. But for McCaffrey to run all over every team in their path and knowing that he's going to have extra workload because he is playing with a backup quarterback, I mean, this dude is your MVP. Without Christian McCaffrey, there is no way that this Panthers team is with the record that they have. And I'm saying this knowing that they're going to play my 49ers this next week. This is the first team all season that makes me super nervous because of Christian McCaffrey, who I have on my fantasy team and I have benched because I believe that my defense is going to make it that difficult for him. But also, my rule, I don't play the guys that play my team. I just don't. It's team before your fantasy, okay? Plain and simple. That's my rule. Luke says, I wish defensive players were nominated for MVP. They get nominated kind of, but it's like they never... I hate that there's so many awards, because technically if a quarterback wins Offensive Player of the Year, then... let me rephrase that. If a quarterback wins MVP... he should have probably won the Offensive Player of the Year as well, right? And the same thing with Defensive Player of the Year. If a defensive player wins MVP, then he's probably got to be the Defensive Player of the Year, right? Now, for me, when I've done awards, I've had a criteria where there were actual different recipients of that. There was an MVP, there was an Offensive Player of the Year, there was a Defensive Player of the Year, and a Rookie of the Year. And the way that I did it was, there was a couple of quarterbacks in the IFL that had outstanding seasons. And so what I did is that I looked at, what quarterback had the most, game-winning drives, or he was really the difference maker, and so on and so forth. Like, without him in certain scenarios, in certain games, would they have won? And I don't believe they would have. So that was my MVP. My Offensive Player of the Year was the guy that was putting up all the numbers, but he probably wasn't always on the right side of the win-loss column. He wasn't getting more wins than losses, or maybe they didn't make the playoffs, or maybe they did, but he wasn't in the MVP conversation. because maybe they didn't find themselves in a lot of those scenarios where they needed to have that last game-winning drive or make the big comeback or whatever. But he was still putting up just amazing numbers offensively. So that's where my criteria kind of weighs in. But for a lot of the time, you see the NFL and who they're talking about as MVP, offensive and defensive player of the year, and it's like, well, you might as well just make them both, because it doesn't, like, what you're talking about doesn't make sense to have them be different people. So I would love to see a defensive player be MVP, because I think that they deserve it. I really do. Luke also says Luke Kuechly for my defensive pick of the year. That's a good one. Yes, Barry, I am benching CMC. Like I said, I have my rules when it comes to fantasy, and my fantasy rules are that if I have a player that plays my Niners, they sit on the bench, and it's worked out for me all season long. So yeah, we're gonna knock on wood on that one, but it's okay. It is what it is, and I'm very proud of that. There are people that say play with your head, not with your heart, and to each their own, though. But like I said, I have rules. Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you. And let's see. So there's been a few new signings in the IFL. Some teasers from different teams as far as upcoming signings. We'll see what those are. And I have my announcement, my big deal on Friday. And then, of course, as you see the ticker down there, Broncos trade for wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, which is actually our next topic of conversation today. It is our top story. What does this do for the 49ers, Emmanuel Sanders? And they got him for a bargain. This was not a one-sided trade by any means. They gave up a second and fourth round, or a third and fourth round, and they got him and a fifth round back. So props to them for being able to get a little extra in return. And I feel like that's a very reasonable price for Emmanuel Sanders. The Patriots also got Mohamed Sanu, and that will be interesting to see how he fits in to their whole scheme. Look, Brady's number one guy is always going to be Edelman. Now that Gronk's gone, that's even more solidified. And then, of course, they have Sony Michel and James White, and even Burkhardt. But he's never been like a wide receiver guy, and they've had so many. The only one that really, I guess, complimented Brady was Randy Moss, and it's Randy frickin' Moss, right? I mean, let's not get crazy here. Barry says he couldn't do it. Luke says, "Don't bet CMC or not." I'm sorry. I have my rules, guys. I'm sorry. I can't go back on my rules. Adam says basically that makes them a Super Bowl contender. Whoa. Are you saying that my undefeated 49ers were not Super Bowl contenders up until this very moment, Adam? I'm going to take your top fan badge away here in a minute. Devin says Niners opponents wins total 11 and the Pats total 8 if you count the Jets once for last night. It was the second time they played this season. 5 of the wins of the Pats come from the Bills. Yes, I have crunched those numbers. I have done that math. And, you know, it's funny because we didn't have our week 2, week 3 panic with the Patriots, right? They didn't lose to the Dolphins in Foxborough, or they didn't lose to the Bills or whoever they lose to. They're undefeated. And I just wonder what that means for the people thinking that it's a lock for them to go in and win the Super Bowl, because they don't have that hater talk right now that they do that. Oh, the dynasty's over because they lost in week 2 to a divisional rival. I mean, that stuff happens. Come on now. Luke says I'm silly with my rules in fantasy, and probably why I lost. Wow. I'm not. Ooh. He says probably why I lost to my wife this last week. That hurts, man. That, oof. Ooh, that stings. That one stung. That hit hard. That hit deep. I lost because Sam Darnold decided that 3 interceptions weren't enough for his game day stats last night on primetime football. He had to throw the 4th one. Like, I am so baffled by that. Adam says, no, not my top fan badge. I see Tommy has joined us. Jeff says, Cam Newton on trade block, who takes him? Jeez, I don't know. That's a good question right there. If Cam Newton's on the trade block, There's a few teams that I could see him going to, but it also depends on what team he fits with. Carolina built that team around Cam Newton, and so the fact that Kyle Allen has been able to come in, I don't know if they're playing more fundamental football or what, but the dynamics as far as the differences between Cam and Kyle Allen are just, night and day. But Cam, I think, I don't know what kind of head coach the new Redskins coach is after they dismissed Mr. Gruden, but I could see him going there because they're not going to get anywhere with Keenum, and if they're really going to hold out on starting their rookie, I don't know what they're doing there. So he could go to the Redskins. He could go. What are some other places? Because everybody's kind of set with quarterback right now. I don't think the Jets would take him though, and we'll see what's going on there. I had to just squirt my cats because they're being You see Fozzie over my shoulder right now? He's picking on everybody. Hey. That's what happens when you have cats in your studio. They fight with each other. Anyway, crisis averted. Sam Darnold joined famous Jameis in the bakery this week, making those turnovers. Rumors are the Bears? Cam Newton? So what, they're just going to bail on the Trubisky experiment so early? Huh. Cam to Chicago. Wow. I don't know. I would have, as crazy as it sounds, I would have thought Tampa Bay for Cam Newton. I think the ship has sailed, pun intended, on Jameis Winston, but it's an offense built similarly to the way that Carolina's offense is built. Two mobile quarterbacks, dual threats, and Cam Newton throwing to Evans and Godwin. I mean, come on now. That seems like a match made. But I think if we're talking about Chicago, it's because Chicago is still in the mix, right? We're going into week 8, and they're at 500, and they know that the playoffs are very much like making distance between them and the postseason. So, yeah. Anyway, Luke says, well, let's see the Mohawk. No, you don't get to. Not right now. Cam Newton to Chicago Bears. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That offense is not Cam friendly. I would say Cam to the Bucks, and how crazy would that be? A divisional rival. So Emmanuel Sanders, I think, adds a new dynamic to the 49ers. Now, I know that there's a lot to be said when it comes to the rapport built between a number one receiver and your quarterback, and I don't know how long that takes. I don't know how quick of a learner Sanders is, but I think having him opposite Goodwin, and then, of course, Kendrick Bourne and George Kittle in there, that will make for a very diverse defense in the passing game because they're already very well off in the running game, and that's been their bread and butter. But you need to have the option to pass, and that's what I think Emmanuel Sanders in this trade essentially does, is it gives them a true number one receiver, and now it's going to make defenses have to plan a lot differently for San Francisco. Jeff says, I agree with Tampa. Plus, they want to move away from Winston. Like I said, that makes the most sense. This Chicago thing is really throwing me for a loop. Luke says, Richard hates me now because of my wife comment. I mean, a little. I'm going to remove your top fan badge too, buddy. And then Matt says, Chicago has some decent receivers. They do. I'm not arguing what they have personnel-wise on the offense. I have Gabriel and Jeffrey, or not Jeffrey. Who's the other receiver? Robinson. I have Gabriel and Robinson on a couple of my fantasy teams as fillers for bye weeks, but the offensive scheme doesn't make sense because Trubisky's not a mobile quarterback. He's a pocket passer. So I don't know if you make a trade like that, you get a mobile quarterback, and now you've got to go back to the drawing board, even though you're at 500 and you're just about at the midway point of the season. Like, it just, in my mind, I say play the hand that you're dealt and try to make things easier for your quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, instead of going and hitting the panic button and trying to bring in a guy that doesn't fit your offense in Cam Newton. The Tampa Bay has a better chance at winning out the rest of the season with a quarterback like Cam Newton than Chicago does, getting a playoff spot at 500 right now. That's just my thoughts on it. So, take it for what it is. He says Jimmy G is smiling right now. You're damn right he is. And Matt says, thinking out loud. No, think out loud all you want, because that's, what makes good conversation. In the IFL news, there is supposed to be an announcement this week, and we're waiting for when that announcement will be made. But still funny in my mind that there is an announcement that's supposed to be made. Meanwhile, announcements that other people have told you will be made Friday are still on schedule. So it's not that hard to say you're going to announce something and stick to that date. It's really not. But I say that, and then my flights get all messed up or whatever, or my schedule gets thrown for a loop. You live, you learn. It is what it is. Let's see here. They released the new Star Wars trailer last night, and there's been some other free agent signings. The XFL schedule is out now. It is 10-week season. There are 4 playoff spots, and then, of course, 2 of those 4 will advance to the championship. Games start in February, and they go all the way through until the championship in April. And here are how some of those games look right now. I'd love to be able to talk about the schedule and be like, that's a good matchup. We don't know anything about these teams yet, though. But week 1, Saturday, February the 8th. So there are 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. Saturday will be ABC. Sunday will be Fox. Makes sense, right? So you have the Seattle Dragons on the road against the DC Defenders. And then you have the LA Wildcats on the road against the Houston Roughnecks. Sunday, Tampa Bay Vipers in New York to take on the Guardians. And then the St. Louis Blackhawks go to Dallas to take on the Renegades. Seattle's home opener is week 2, February 15th, Saturday. They host the Vipers. Each team has 5 home games, 5 away games, no bye weeks that I see, unless maybe they took my advice that I had for the NFL, and that's a one-and-done bye week in the middle of the season. But everybody's like, no, I need my bye weeks in fantasy so I can win with a cheap victory because they had to bench their best player because he wasn't playing. I feel, okay, whatever, I'll be sleep at night. Let's see. Barry says I'm going to the XFL. That'd be awesome if I was. Get in on the ground floor, be part of something new. Adam says, I am pumped for the rise of Skywalker. Jeff asks, anyone drinking that Sam Adams crap? Is it Kool-Aid? I don't know. Luke says, Oktoberfest? It's not bad. That's funny because his name's also Sam Adams. Yeah, that's funny. Thanks, you guys. You guys probably don't even realize that, but that was funny. So the playoffs, they're actually set in here. Saturday, April the 18th against the 2 and 1 seed for the East, and then Sunday, April 19th against the 2 and the 1 seed for the West. The championship will be Sunday, April 26th on ESPN. So we have our teams, we have our logos, our names, our cities, our coaching staffs, our rosters now after the draft, and now we have our schedule. So it's getting more and more real, and like I said, I love that they're doing this. IFL schedule should be out probably, I'd say, in the next 3 weeks or less, and we should, in that same amount of time, be getting the release, official announcements of the remaining teams that have yet to be announced. Again, we're looking at Spokane, New Orleans, El Paso, if Spokane ever makes the announcement. Trying to think of what else is going on in the world before we get to our interview, which is head coach of the Tucson Sugar Skulls, Dixie Wooten. Great chat with him. We talked about his new role. He's also the GM for the Sugar Skulls. His takeaways from Iowa, not just players, obviously, but what it taught him as a head coach. Getting DeQuan Neal, because he's a guy that when he had quarterback Travis Partridge, he became the most improved player in the IFL. And then he had Drew Powell, who ended up being the MVP, and then DeQuan Neal, who ended up again being the MVP of the league. So I said, what was so important about having the same quarterback for a change when you've been able to do it like with anybody? He's a quarterback guru. He really is. He's very good defensively, but he is a QB guru in the world of the IFL. Jeff asks, World Series prediction? Whoever scores the most points in 9 innings in a 5-game span will be your winner. That's how I see. The best of 7, whoever gets the most runs in 9 innings, the first one to do that 5 times will be your World Series winner. Or 4 times, I'm sorry. Best of 7. That's how much I don't follow baseball. I know that it's the Washington Nationals and that it's the Houston Astros. Do I have a pick? I'm always a guy for the never have I evers, and if that's the Nationals, then yeah, go Washington Nationals. But I think either one is going to be good. It'd be great for Houston to get another one. But yeah, go Nationals. There we go. I'll pick the Nationals. Nationals in 5. There we go. Nationals will win it in 5. Luke says, thanks for the show. We appreciate you. Always a good time. I am going to assume that means that Luke is taken off. And Adam says, Nats in 6. Nationals in 6. Do I need to ask the question again, why we need 7 games when I feel like 5 would do? I don't understand, what you get out of 2 more games. It's whatever. 7-game series. It just seems like forever, especially baseball. 9 innings. There's no time limits. You have to get 3 outs and then you change. But that's why I'm not a huge baseball fan, because it takes forever to get through. I could play baseball. I love playing baseball, but that was when there were no commercial breaks and you were, 3 up, 3 down, and rattling the bats and all that stuff. But yeah, MLB, Major League Baseball. It's not my cup of tea. Sorry, guys. All right, we're going to get to it then. My interview with head coach Dixie Wooten, and we are going to do that right now. So I appreciate you guys listening. Enjoy my conversation with the new head coach and GM for the Tucson Sugar Skulls. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is the new head coach and general manager of the Tucson Sugar Skulls. You know him, you love him. He puts the woot in Wooten. It's Dixie Wooten. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Doing great. 4 months, roughly, until a brand new IFL season. Looks like it's going to be one of the best ones yet. But, of course, I say that every year. But I think for me, what's really selling it is looking around at the different teams and the caliber of coaches that some of these teams have. You're taking your talents to Tucson. What can you tell me, I guess, what sold you on being the next chapter for the Tucson Sugar Skulls franchise?
Man, I was me and I will talk, and I was talking to a couple of AFL teams, and when Kevin caught the word that I was, leaving, he reached out to me. So when I went down there, man, one thing that Tucson have is facilities, man. Kevin, they did a great job on putting things in place so that team can be successful. I went down there, man. I'm talking about this is probably one of the best facilities I have ever seen in the indoor football league. And then just the front office, with Jay Gonzalez, he on top of things, and Antoine, man, those guys in there working hard, selling tickets, selling selling sponsorships and things like that, man. So just the thing that I know that when I go in, everything is going to be in place for me to be successful, man. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for you. Obviously, you get a bit more control over the things that go on with a team. We know that a lot of successful franchises, their head coach also acts as their general manager, Riggs up in Sioux Falls, and then, of course, Kevin Guy in Arizona, or more specifically Phoenix, because you're in Arizona too now. So what is it about not only coaching this team, but also assembling this team the way that a general manager does that really made you feel like that might have been either a missing piece or just what could take you and your team to the next level?
Like in this league, most coaches, they put their teams together. So, but the thing about being a general manager is now I can build my team on and off the field. I'm responsible for going in the community. I'm responsible for going in the community, getting my guys jobs. So when they come in, I can get them jobs so they can make some extra money. I'm all about, going in the community and, talking to, the sponsorships for the food deals and things like that. Anything that has something to do with football, I'm over it. So, what that does, for a coach, like I have no excuse not to be successful because anything that come into the program is what I brought into it. And, it makes me have to work harder to make sure my team is good.
Yeah, I think for you, obviously, like I said, a great opportunity, and that's one of the most important things about being successful at this level in this league is community outreach and then making sure that your players are taken care of. And I love hearing from coaches that, that's one of their top priorities. So good to hear that you found a good spot to do that. And, as I mentioned, as far as the different coaching names we're hearing around the league, we've got Amir Ishmael that's now going to head coach your former team, the Barnstormers. Riggs is up in Sioux Falls. We've got the reigning coach of the year, Corey Roberson, still up in Green Bay. Coach Ross at Quad City for the Steamwheelers. You in Tucson, Kevin Guy in Arizona, and then, of course, the rumor that Billy Back would be up in Spokane once that announcement is made official. But, you look at the landscape of things, the competition level just seems cranked up to 11. Like, how do you feel about taking over a new team, a very infant franchise going into its second year and knowing that kind of competition is going to be out there to meet you, on game day?
Man, it's exciting, man. When you look around the league, and you see all these signings, man. You see every team is doing a great job recruiting. When we knew the XFL was coming in, but, we know that it's so many great players out here in the United States. If every team is going to be stacked. And then when you look at it, man, like offensive linemen in this league, teams are getting great linemen, great D linemen, great defensive backs. If you look around, almost every team has a solid quarterback now. So when you walk into these arenas, man, it's going to be you better have your A game together because anybody can get beat any given day in the IFL, and I think that's what makes this league huge. And also it comes down to coaching in this league. You got to make the adjustments. You got to be able to put game plans together because it takes more than talent to win in the IFL. And man, I think ownership around the league has done a great job hiring coaches. I think right now every team, and if that's true with the Spokane thing and with Billy Back, every team has a solid coach that has some type of just experience under their belts. And I think this league is going to be probably be the best season we ever had in the IFL. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, certainly a great crop of competition out there, just head coaches and knowing their ability to assemble great teams. You mentioned having a great quarterback. You were able to bring Ryan Ballantyne with you, who has been a quarterback before, but he's one of the best receivers in the IFL, and the guy throwing to him you were also able to bring with you as well, and that was the reigning MVP, Daquan Neal. Now, you're a guy who it didn't really matter who was your quarterback. You found ways to win. You had Travis Partridge, you had Drew Powell. Powell, of course, was an MVP, Partridge, most improved player from one year to the next, and then, of course, Neal, another MVP. What was the decision? Like, why did you feel it was important to bring Neal with you instead of just seeing what other young, talented quarterback was out there that you could maybe develop?
Like last year when I reached out to when I brought Daquan to Iowa, he was very, very new to the position, like more than a pocket passer like that. So I wanted to develop him last year. So, we jumped a big curve. And I think if I would have had him if I have him another year, I think I can develop him even more so great that he can play at the next level, XFL, CFL, and even NFL. So, me and Kevin talked, and then on October 1st, I asked Kevin, hey, look, I think I can, make my quarterback a little better. I'm going to reach out to him. And, Kevin told me to go for it. And I reached out to Daquan, and we talked for like 10 minutes. And, it was a no-brainer. One thing that, I never had, in this league, was a quarterback that come back for the second year. So, and by having him another year now, he already knows the way I think, the way I understand, things, and the way I make him understand things. I know now that we on the same mindset. So now he understands that I'm gonna make him work even harder because I know what he can do, and he knows what's my expectations for him.
Yeah, definitely venturing into uncharted territory for head coach Dixie Wooten. I mean, we've seen you take one-year quarterbacks and turn them into most improved players and MVPs, and now you're about to have the guy, that you had last year for a second year in a row. Of course, pending any sort of, random thing like an injury or whatnot, which you definitely hope does not happen. You want everybody to be at their best. But, I can't wait to see what you do with a guy the second year that you've got him on your roster with what you've been able to do with guys just given 1 year with them.
It's gonna be huge. I'm telling you, it's gonna be fun. Now, he understands exactly how I coach. He understands exactly what I want from him. So now, like right now, he understands the playbook. So he's coming in. He's going to be at a point that when receivers run a wrong route, instead of me telling them they ran a wrong route, he can do it. So he's going to have a bigger part of this offense. Now, I'm adding more audibles to this offense. So if he comes to the line of scrimmage and he look at a look that he want to look, I'm going to give him the authority to change it, right there on the field. And that's the great thing about having somebody in year two. Now he knows exactly what we want to do in a certain situation. And if we call a play and he don't like it, he can check out of it.
Yeah, and one thing that Tucson did not struggle with last year was defense, and we saw that Arizona just signed one of your defensive players from Iowa, and there were quite a few defensive players from Iowa the previous year that went to Tucson for that inaugural season. What's it look like on the defensive side of the ball for you? Do you have any names that you're looking at to be sort of cornerstones for the 2020 season?
Well, if you look at all my teams in Iowa, anywhere else, I always start with a linebacker because at the end of the day, in a defense in this league, your linebacker is everything. So, I always kept up with Robert Betts, and this year he's going to be, my linebacker. I want to put him in a situation where he can be successful, and I think in the system, he can be successful. He's a big physical guy that can go side to side. So, signing him. And then also, we're going to get, we got Tevin Madison Friday. So he'll be coming to Tucson. So he is one of my guys, with high football IQ last year. They had a great year in Iowa. So he'll be coming aboard with us this year as well. So, and one thing, and then we got Juwan Hartley. Juwan, he's a guy that can play safety. He can play corner. He can play linebacker. So, he's a guy that's going to come in with that veteran leadership and, let them guys know, how we expect things to be in the back end. So, one thing we want to do with our defense this year in Tucson, we want to be fast, we want to be physical, but one thing, we want to have a high IQ back there. We want to make sure we all on the same page. And that's why, I'm now the slowest position I'm trying to recruit is defensive line because I want to make sure I hit a home run on my defensive line because if I hit a home run on defensive line, I think Nets will have a great year.
Yeah, I think so too. And, Tucson, they did not have a bad inaugural season, obviously clinching a playoff berth on the last game of the regular season, which was very exciting for them. But obviously they had a bit of a slow start. And I remember saying, through the first several weeks of the season, I was like, bad teams don't stay bad. It almost takes more effort for bad teams to stay bad than it does for them to eventually get better. And we saw that their matchups with Arizona, who was undefeated throughout the entire regular season, but they did get swept in that series in what is looking to be like a very intense and heated rivalry. What are you looking to bring to the table as far as that rivalry, and what can the fans get excited about for this season?
Just thinking about, I played against Arizona 4 times, and as a coach, I never lost to them. So that's one thing for, Tucson to be excited about. And the crazy part about it is, the owner of Tucson is Kevin Guy. So that lets you know how competitive he really is. He reached out to me knowing that, I had success against his guys, against Arizona, and he brought me in and hired me to make sure, this team be successful as well. So that lets you know what this rivalry will do for this league and Arizona. I think that let you know, let the league know what type of owner Kevin Guy is. When he want Tucson to grow, but again, he's running a great program in Arizona as well. He's not taking a step back there, and we talk all the time, and his job in Arizona is to make sure that he beat Tucson. But as the owner, his job in Tucson to make sure that he put the right pieces in Tucson to make them successful as well.
Yeah, Kevin Guy, the owner, very much all about making sure that his franchise is one of the best, and he learned from one of the best, and that was Ron Schertz of Arizona. But leave it to you, Dixie Wooten, saying 2020, you have never been beaten by Arizona as a head coach in the IFL, and you're looking to continue that to a team that's never beaten Arizona in the IFL, and that's the Tucson Sugar Skulls. So I love it. We're already starting a little bit of the trash talk early on, and with however many teams this ends up being finally, I again, am so excited about your new opportunity and all the other new head coaches and, of course, the new franchises out there. I really do believe that it's going to be one of the best and most competitive seasons that we've ever seen.
Most definitely, man. I feel like, I can't wait till the schedule come out, because I'm telling you, it's going to be some big, big games from week 1 all the way to the end. I just, like you said, I just feel like the coaches that these organizations hire understand how to manage football, and that's the great thing about it. And like I said, I'm a coach, but I'm a fan of the game as well. So when we're not playing, I'm gonna have my YouTube on, watching the games and being a part of every game, because I know how much work these guys put in. And at the end of the day, I respect every last coach in this league because of the hard work. And then you had coaches struggle last year. If you look at at Bismarck now, look at Bismarck, how they doing on the recruiting trail. Like, they signed some key offensive linemen. They got the quarterback that they signed last year back. They signed some good receivers. So, man, it's going to be strong from top to bottom.
All right, well, he is the new head coach and GM of the Tucson Sugar Skulls that in their inaugural season set a rather high bar for themselves, clinching a playoff berth, which is the first time we've ever seen that. But, of course, for Dixie Wooten, even if he was the head coach of that team, that would not have been enough. It's championship or bust for Dixie Wooten. And, Dixie, I thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show, man, and congratulations.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Again, man, thank you for everything that you do for this league. Man, you get our name out here. These players love you, man, because, you push them, man, and that's what it's all about. The more exposure that this league gets, the better. So we appreciate you as well.
Absolutely, man. People helping people. It's powerful stuff, Coach. And thank you again. You don't work too hard, but you got a team to assemble, and I look forward to seeing the final product in February.
You know it, man, but I got to put in some work, man. These coaches, they out here doing a great job. Like, I can't bring up the last part of it. So, yeah, I'm gonna work a little hard out here.
All right, Coach. You take care of yourself. You have a good one. Thank you so much.
Okay, you too. All right, appreciate it.
And one more big thank you to Coach Dixie Wooten for being my guest here this evening. It was a great conversation, like I said, so I want to thank you all once again for tuning into this Tuesday edition of The F.A.N. Show. And don't forget, if you missed any of the episode, then you can always go ahead and subscribe and download and listen on demand. We are available in all the most popular flavors of podcasting, and that is Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and of course Spreaker.com. Make sure that you have liked the Facebook page, which is where you can catch these live broadcasts, and then obviously you want to give us a follow on Twitter at FanShowOfficial and a like and a follow, I guess. What's the term for Instagram? I don't know. But anyway, do that on Instagram. It's the F.A.N Show. We have Snapchat, but we never use it. Maybe someday. And then, of course, there is a YouTube channel. But until we get one of those lovely websites that is smooth running, this is the place to be on the Facebook page. Thank you for 2,000 plus strong. And again, thank you to Coach Dixie Wooten. So remember, folks, it's not official unless it's F.A.N Show official. And we are officially out of here. So we will see what the rest of the week hold. Like I said, it's a little chaotic right now. Thursday episode pending. Might do one tomorrow just to be on the safe side. But regardless, I'll let you guys know, and things will be back to a new normal next week. Yeah, there will be a new normal. So again, thank you guys. Best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the F.A.N Show.